Hey guys, Trigger John coming at you with another Diablo 4 video. Now on this video, what we want to talk about is going to be the difference between hardcore mode and softcore mode, what makes the most sense, and if I get my head out of the way, you can see here I have a hardcore player and I have an eternal player. What does that actually mean for you? Is this something that's important? Does it make a difference if you go hardcore, if you go softcore? We're going to talk about it, we're going to break it all down for you just so that way you know what makes the most sense for you, the player, when starting out playing Diablo 4, so that way you get basically the best chance and most enjoyment out of it. All right, so for those of you that are wondering, what is the key differences between hardcore and softcore? We're gonna start off by going over the first initial things to talk about, and then we're gonna talk about why people would go into hardcore mode, why would they play softcore mode, and we're gonna try to keep it as balanced as we can so that way you guys have a better and more informed decision on what type and what game style you have, right? So first things first, let's go ahead and let's talk about the world tier statue. When going from hardcore to softcore, there are a few things to note. None of these change. However, most games use these as a difficulty setting, right? Because depending on your skill level, how good your build is, so on and so forth, the game could be harder in Torment than it could be in Adventure. I think everyone watching this video is going to agree with that statement for once. But what does hardcore mean on top of these? So hardcore doesn't actually modify the difficulty at all. Your adventurer, veteran, nightmare, torment, they all stay the same exact difficulty. However, in hardcore mode, whereas when we would die and we would, our armor could get weakened and we could turn around and not have 100% equipment, right? And you can go, the durability goes down. And in softcore, you can just go and fix it. In hardcore, when you die, you're done. Unfortunately, in hardcore, the reason why it's called hardcore is because you get one life, and that is your character's one life. Now, there are some caveats to this, right? In all Diablo games, Diablo 3 is notorious for it, where you could actually have a skill that would proc cheat death. Same thing over here. With Diablo 4, there is an elixir of death evasion. Now, this is a little different than the other ones, and unfortunately, I don't have a hardcore player or hardcore character that's level 10 yet to show you this potion. But basically what it does is it's for the next 30 minutes, death once, prevent death once and become immune for 2 seconds. Once this takes place, you cannot benefit from it again for 5 minutes. This means there's a 5-minute cooldown on it. This also means that you can have several of these elixirs on you and any chance. So let's say you're doing a dungeon and you proc it, right? That means you have 5 minutes until you can then activate it again to keep going. So you can back out, you can keep hanging out, whatever the case may be. But you only get a 5-minute cooldown, and the potion only works for 30 minutes. Now, it is also kind of costly. You need to have a lot of demon hearts, crushed beast bones, engraved dust. It's about 4 of them each. It adds up pretty quick. So it's not something that, a whole lot of people are gonna have a crap ton of, unfortunately. But there is a way to not lose your character, and that's by using that potion. But the biggest difference between hardcore and softcore is that, as well as if you want to feel that extra immersion in the game. When it comes to a softcore character, my armor and life really aren't as beneficial as they will be on a hardcore character. Because in a hardcore character, you only get the one life. So really, you change your entire build aesthetic. And that's where a lot of people, I think, enjoy playing hardcore over softcore, because even though, yes, you are going to 100% go for attack and get damage, no one's ever going to say that, oh man, you're playing hardcore, so you're not going to have any attack. Well, no, you still get tons of attacks, still do a lot of damage. However, it requires a totally different mindset when trying to play hardcore versus trying to play softcore. Softcore, we have an unlimited retries, right? We can die as many times as we want, come back, complete content. On hardcore, you die once, you're done. You lose everything on that character and you have to start 100% over. That's the real penalty when playing in hardcore. It's also why a lot of players don't play it, or they will quit when they start playing. Now, if you are new to the Diablo franchise, if you are new to ARPGs, I highly recommend that you start with softcore for a few reasons, okay? Reason number one for starting with softcore over anything else is, one, learn the game. It never hurts to learn a game first and then go back and try the higher difficulty, right? I'm sure a lot of you, especially myself, being a 90s kid, I was raised to beat a game and then bump it up to the next difficulty level and beat it again, right? So in a sense, playing softcore, if you start out playing softcore, then you can learn the game, you can learn the nuances, learn the mechanics, and then make your hardcore player and try it again and see how it feels. I would definitely recommend that. Number two, why I would stick with softcore right now, especially as a new player, is the stability. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but unfortunately, Diablo has had a lot of problems right now with their stability, so to speak, of characters in hardcore mode. Quinn69 just actually died on stream to the immunity bubble. So he finished a dungeon. He should have been totally immune to all damage, and he teleported out and the environment killed him. So he lost his character. That was 170 some hours of his time gone and wasted, and it wasn't his fault. He didn't actually do anything wrong. Now, Woody Joe as well, who is a major hardcore player, he's one of the most known for doing the clan, or for knocking out the world boss and setting a bunch of records, so on and so forth. Even he was saying that unfortunately, the death essence doesn't quite work as well as it should, or it's just not, the entire system is a little flawed right now. So I definitely would not want to advise anyone to just dive right in and start doing hardcore, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up in an experience, in a situation that may not be what's best for you. You may get frustrated, things may change, right? Now, there are a few other things to kind of talk about as well. So that was the first two things. And then softcore, one of the last things that we're going to talk about with softcore is the simple fact that if you're playing in softcore, you can really play with all of the different chances for different skills, abilities, legendaries. Because if it doesn't synergize well and it doesn't work, well, guess what? You die and go, oh, this doesn't work, and you change your gear. Unfortunately, in hardcore, it's really hard to experiment, because your character, you only get the one character. So if you completely break your build, well, at that point, you're done. So it's one of those situations where just hardcore in general, or softcore in general, is a little easier to play, because there is not that uncertainty of, okay, well, am I gonna die? Am I gonna rip? Is this build gonna work properly? Those are all things that you could figure out on softcore a lot faster than you will hardcore. Hardcore generally takes longer, and that's because when you're playing hardcore mode, you need to be safe, right? You get one life, you don't want to waste it. So a lot of hardcore players will also come out and say, yeah, like everything takes a lot longer. Everything's a lot more difficult, because they are prioritizing their life all the time. Tankiness first and then attack. Whereas in softcore, if you had tankiness and you had attack, you would flip-flop them, okay? And that's just how it's gonna go. That's just a general basis of understanding here. And that also means, if you're gonna play hardcore, you need to follow hardcore players. That means, for example, I'm gonna have a build guide coming out very soon about my current build and how it's working, how to play it, how to really deep dive and understand it. I am playing softcore. When I go through this build, this is not a hardcore viable build. Now, a lot of people may try it, but it's not gonna work as well. I definitely think there's two separate mindsets that need to go into it. So when you are trying to pick, am I gonna go hardcore, am I gonna go softcore, there's a few things that you yourself should kind of process, right? So maybe think for a second, okay, like, yeah, I'm gonna play a rogue. I really like close melee builds, okay? You got two options. You're gonna go glass cannon, you're gonna go tanky. Well, if you're playing hardcore, chances are you're going to go tanky. What this means is on your stats, you're going to be looking for totally different stats than what I have currently on mine, right? Like, I'm looking for damage. These pants have life, which is perfect. It's actually a perfect example. Like, this would be a good a roll on the maximum life there. It's 412 out of 461, so it's a higher one. It's not tier 1, but it's higher. That's a good roll. That's what you want to see on a hardcore build. Now, that's totally different when you're talking about a softcore build, where you want to see damage, right? Like, we want to see critical strike damage, damage to poison enemies, distant enemies, so on and so forth. You want to see these stats on a hardcore build, whereas on a softcore build, when on a hardcore build, you want to see more survivability. You want to let your skills and your Paragon board actually create your abilities, right? So your Paragon board, that's where you're gonna get a lot of your points and a lot of your damage in hardcore, and that's okay. You also get a lot of it in softcore as well. So these two coincide, they are parallel paths. However, in hardcore, you prioritize things a little different. Like right now, I'm trying to prioritize, I prioritize this to get my stats up higher, so that way I can get my damage output, right? In hardcore, it may not make sense to do that. It may make more sense to actually start with a HP glyph for now to get you rolling, until later on down the pathway, you can say, okay, I can refund this and now upgrade to a different glyph. It's that type of situation that's a little different, because at the end of the day, when you really want to know the key differences between softcore and hardcore, yes, obviously there is the ability to die or not die. Trading is still there, but the real major difference, in my opinion, is the mindsets. What type of mindset and what type of player are you? Are you someone who just likes to spam and have fun? Are you a hardcore grinder? What is it that you prefer and how you try to play? Because your play style will really dictate how much fun you have, playing both softcore or hardcore. Now, for me, myself, I'm gonna play softcore probably for 2 characters. I'll probably start season 1 in softcore mode, and then I wanna try hardcore. I feel like at that point, I'm gonna be able to apply everything that I've made YouTube videos on and try to just go through the motions, right? And then we'll make a series out of it. Like, hey, I took my own advice, what did I get, right? For me as a content creator, that works great. For you as a viewer, maybe that doesn't make any sense to you. And if it doesn't, I apologize. But this is gonna be probably the most essentially different thing to think about, honestly. If you are someone who already prioritizes safety, you're slow, you're really HP oriented, you like to have tanky builds, hardcore is probably the game type for you. If you're someone who wants to go fast and you want to blast, probably softcore. Now, can you do them both and flip-flop them? 100% you can. There's no limitations. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. However, overall enjoyability, repeatability, replayability, I would definitely recommend players pick softcore first, start out, learn the game, wait until season 1 launch, so that way things are a lot more stable in game, and then progress and then go into hardcore. All right, guys, that's gonna be my advice, especially for those who are trying to figure out, okay, should I play softcore, should I play hardcore, is there any key differences? That's the major key difference. Also, if you have a character in softcore and you make another character in hardcore, you are still in the same guild. Or sorry, same clan. So you can have a hardcore character and a softcore character in the same clan. There's no disenfranchisee there. It's all gonna be the same. And when you create another character, you can skip the beginning and go right to the world. So you don't have to do any of that beginning mumbo jumbo, which is really annoying. So you can easily restart, go to another character, try it out, but I definitely don't invest too much time in hardcore yet, just because it may or may not come back and bite you in the butt with your character rips. All right, so that's gonna be it for this video. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, just make sure to like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.